Hello everybody, it's Tarun. Welcome to your 20th tutorial in the CSS for presentation course. In this tutorial, I'll continue with layouts and I'll talk about the last layout here, which is the hybrid layouts. Layouts that use a combination of pixel, percentage and EM measurements are sometimes called hybrid layouts. In many scenarios, it makes sense to mix fixed and scalable content areas. For example, you might have a sidebar that contains a stack of advertisements banners that must stay at a particular size. You could specify that sidebar at a particular pixel width and allow the column next to it to resize to fill the remaining space. Okay, so in the next figure which I am going to show you is going to illustrate a hybrid layout. Okay. The secondary column on the left side is set to a specific pixel width, and the main content area is set to auto and fills the remaining space in the window. A word of warning here: when you mix length units, okay, which is pixel, percentage, and EM, it becomes much more complicated to calculate page and element width. But it is possible if there is a good reason to do so. So now you have seen all the layouts, so which one you should use? As you can see, each layout approach has its own advantage and drawback, and as layout trends come and go, we are seeing a shift from fixed desktop appropriate sites to fluid designs that are better suited to work well across all devices. You may find that a fluid layout works best for the smaller screen sizes in a responsive site, but a fixed layout gives you the control you want when the web page is viewed on very large monitors. Or perhaps your site is a complex intranet application that requires a fixed design and is likely to be used only on a desktop browser. So there is no right way, and it is important that you be familiar with all the options to make the best decision for your site or application based on its content, purpose and primary use. So now we'll see page layout techniques. Here it is, the section that you have been waiting for, how to create 2 and 3 column layouts using CSS. The examples in this section should give you a good head start toward understanding how layout works, but they are not universal solutions. Your content may dictate more complicated approaches. This section provides templates and techniques for the following 3 things. The first is 2 and 3 column layouts using floats. Second is a source independent layout using floats and negative margins. And the third one is a multi-column layout using positioning. So now let's start. The sample pages in this section are not so much pretty. In fact, I have stripped them down to their bare minimum to help them make the structure and strategy as clear as possible. So here are a few notes regarding the templates and how to use them. The first is simplified markup and styles. I have included only the bare minimum markup and styles in the examples, just enough to follow how each layout will be created. All the style rules not related to layout have been omitted to save space and to focus on what is needed to move elements around. The second is color coding. I have added outlines around each column so you can see the edges of the floated or positioned element in the layout. The outlines are color coded with the markup and the styles that create them in an effort to make the connections more clear. The third is headers and footers. I have included header and a footer on many of these examples, but either one or both could be easily omitted for a minimal 2 or 3 column layout. And the last one is make it yours, which means that there is obviously a lot more than here that could be done to this with text, backgrounds, margins, padding and borders to make these pages more appealing. Once you have laid a framework with these templates, you should feel free to change the measurements and add your own styles. So now we'll start with multi-column layouts using floats. Floats are the primary tool for creating columns on web pages. As a tool, it is flawed, but it is the best that we have got as of now. Okay, the advantages that floats have over absolute positioning for layout are that they prevent content from overlapping other content, and they make it easier to keep footer content at the bottom of the page. The drawback is that they are dependent on the order in which the element appears in the source. Although there is a work around using negative margins, as we'll see later in this section. So the following example reveals the general strategy for approaching 2 and 3 column layouts using float, and should serve as a good head start toward implementing your own layouts. Okay. So we'll first of all see 2 columns fluid layout. Okay, so I'll just show you the markup and style sheet for creating a two column layout. Okay, and after that we'll float all the elements to one side. You can float columns to the left or the right depending on the source order in which you document and where you want each column to appear on the page. So we'll start with a very simple 2 column layout. First of all, what is our strategy? We'll set the widths on both column elements and float them to the left. Clear the footer to keep it at the bottom of the page. Okay, so I'll just show you the markup and style here. So as here you can see, so I added some IDs to the markup. Okay, here header, main, extras and footer, and then I've applied styles, which is main to main, float left, width, margin, and for extras and footer. So let me just make it to our web page only. Okay, so this I have pasted in the body. So now let's take the style from here. Okay, so now let's save it and see what happens in the browser. So you can see that it is still loading. Okay, let me just open it in the Chrome only. Okay, so here you can see that it has made us 2 columns. Okay, and this one is pretty straightforward because this is our first one, and I'll point out a few things. Remember that I have omitted the header, footer and text styles to keep the example as simple as possible. Okay, and keep in mind that there is a bit more work in here than what is listed under the styles. Okay, so you can also add background colors, padding and stuff like that. The source document has been divided into 4 divs, one each for the header, main content, extras and footer. The markup shows the order in which they appear in the source. Both main and extra, okay, which is main and extras here, have been floated to the left. Because they are floats, widths are specified for each. You can make your columns as wide as you like. The main element has a 5% margin applied to the left and right sides. The extras element only needs a margin on the right. The margin on the top have been set to 0 as so they vertically align. The footer is cleared so that it starts below the floated content. Okay. So now we'll see 2 columns fixed width layout. This time let's make the layout fixed width instead of fluid. So first of all, let's see what is the strategy. Wrap the content in a div to which we can set a specific pixel width. We'll specify pixel values for the floated elements as well, but the floating and clearing method is the same. So I'll just show you a figure where you can see the layout for the markup which I am going to use. Okay, so first of all let me show you the markup. So this will be the markup which I am going to use. Okay, so now I'll just show you the figure. Okay, but first let's see the style also. So this is the style which I'll apply to this HTML markup. So the result which I'll show you in the figure will be there when I apply it in a web page. Okay. So this is the source order, wrapper, header, main, extras and footer, and this is the layout, how it will look. Okay, you can see header, up and down, header and footer. Okay, and then there is the wrapper, white space, there is main and then extra. Okay, as you can see here in the figure also. Okay, what was I trying, that I was trying to say. So here are a few things to note about this. First is all of the content in the is contained in a wrapper div that has been set to very popular 960 pixel weight. Second one is the width and margins have been changed to pixel measurements as well. Okay, taking care not to exceed a total of 960. If they add up to more than the width of the wrapper container, we would get the dreaded float drop. Keep in mind that if you add padding or borders, the total of their widths would need to be subtracted from the width values to keep the total width the same. So now let's see the two columns fixed width center. At this point it is really easy to center the fixed width layout. So what will be our strategy? Set the left and right margins on the wrapper container to auto, which will keep the whole page centered. The markup is exactly the same as in the previous example. We only need to add a margin declaration to the style. Okay, so which is very much easy. Okay, so what we need to do here is that here with the width also we need to add the margin property and its value will be 0 and auto. Okay, so nothing will change as much, but the elements or the columns will be centered in the web page only or the browser window. The auto margin setting on the left and right sides keep the wrapper centered in the browser window. Okay, so I'll just show you one figure here and where you will understand what I am trying to say. So here you can see that now the columns in the browser window are centered within the window only. Okay, so this was all from my side in this tutorial. In the next tutorial I'll start with 3 columns fluid layout. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next tutorial.